There we go. Okay, YouTube's up now. All right, you guys, welcome back to our daily live feed. Best way to wind down my day. I know, right? I wish this was how I winded down my day. It's not. I still have a couple hours of work to do. That's my life. The life of an entrepreneur, you guys. It is the American dream. As we get into this, if you want to work with me, suitsandposing.com is where you have to go. We do hair, makeup, suits, and posing, all the fun stuff when it comes to competing. Yeah. Being a business owner is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I love it because I'm building something that's mine and I'm not building it for anybody else. I'm building it for me and my family and my future. But it's a 24/7 kind of thing. So you better love it, because if you don't love it, you're going to hate it. You're going to hate it real quick. Which kind of is a good segue into our topic tonight about hobby versus career, right? Hey, I totally planned that. So as you guys are getting logged on, this weekend we have the Virginia Classic show. So I will be there doing hair and makeup. Got a bunch of girls competing, a bunch of first-time competitors competing this weekend, which is awesome. There are pro shows this weekend, but they are in Asia and Australia. So I don't know any of the competitors. So we're actually not going to do a preview on these shows for that reason. And while we're waiting for everybody to get logged on, I'll just kind of touch on that a little bit too. So the NPC IFBB is worldwide, which is awesome. But with that said, the U.S. is the hub of all the major shows, right? So when we get outside the U.S., we start seeing different competitors pop up. But they're not really competing a whole lot because these other foreign countries have like one show a year, maybe two if they're lucky, that kind of thing. So a lot of pros make their way over here to the U.S. in order to compete. A great example is Alessia. Alessia competes over here, but she is from Italy. Francesca Stocchio, same thing. She's from Italy too. Maureen Blankisco is from Norway. She moved here to the States. There's a lot of competitors that have done that have moved here because it's really hard to get a good idea of the level of competition when you're outside of the U.S. When we have shows, multiple shows every single weekend here in the United States, you just have a whole lot better competition and you get tested a whole lot more versus when you're in a foreign country. So that's why everybody comes here. Plus, we got the Olympia judges are here in the States, all of that as well. So just a little tidbit on all that. So if foreign competitors want to move up the ranks in the pro league, they do tend to come here to the United States to do it. They tend to come here. So tonight, we are going to kind of discuss this aspect a little bit, that competing is a hobby, not a career. There are very few people in this sport that actually make a living competing. Very few. We talked about this a little bit the other day. Do you agree when people say that, competing is their career, or do you think it's more of a hobby? I want to hear what your thoughts are. And I have a reason why we're talking about this too. So you can type in the comment bar. Tell me what you think. Is competing a career, or is it a hobby? Just waiting. Go ahead and type in. I'll drink my coffee while I'm waiting. It's a hobby. I think it's more of a hobby, but can have opportunities for a career that support the sport. True. Definitely a hobby. I think careers can spawn from bodybuilding, but bodybuilding itself, hobby. True. I will say hobby because as a female, you can't support yourself. True. Hobby. But I'm going to take it a step further. The men don't support themselves on competing either. None of them do. We touched on this a little bit the other day, that even like Mr. Olympia has a job outside of competing, right? Whether he's signed with a supplement company or he has his own business or, whatever, he is making income outside of the stage, right? Could be a mix of both, depends on your level. I consider a hobby personally since I have a career as an OT, but on my pro debut, one of the promoters addressing content since this is their profession, so I guess it depends. Competing may not be my job, but it's certainly where I spend all my money I make from my job. Well, that would be a hobby. That's what everybody does with their hobbies. They spend all their money on their hobbies, right? Don't men make more? Not in relation to the amount of shows that they do and what they have to do to get ready for the shows. They actually have to spend more. Hobby, I think it's a hobby, LOL, at least for me. I have a career outside of competing. Yep, actually competing, hobby. Everyone has another hustle. Absolutely. Everybody does. Every single person does. Every single person does in this industry. Even though the men make more prize money than the women, it is not enough to support themselves. Not enough. I believe the highest athlete in the sport, period, between competing and their outside work and job, things like that, is Chris Bumstead. It's Chris Bumstead. And it's not from winning Classic Physique Olympias. It's from his supplement company. Right? It's from his company. So the majority of the really successful athletes in our sport are not successful because of what they do on stage. It's because of what they do off stage. Competing can 100% open up another career or help support your career, whatever it might be. A great example is trainers, coaches. If they compete, then that can absolutely help to build their own business. Myself, it's a great example. I would not have my business if it weren't for competing. If I never started competing in the first place 13 years ago, I wouldn't have a business today. My business would not exist without competing. But it has nothing to do with me stepping on stage at this point at all. Zero. Right? I was going to say C-Bum could stop competing and still live, but wouldn't work the other way around. Exactly. Yeah. He could never drop his company and expect to make money off of just competing. No way. No way. Yeah, that boy makes a lot of bank from his company. He's got he's built himself a great brand. And that takes a lot of work off stage. Yes, he's a Mr. Olympia. Absolutely. I'm not going to knock that by any stretch of the imagination. And that 100% helps him with his business. But his business is what brings him the cash. That's his career. That is his career. And also going back to the men don't compete as much as the women do either. So even if they only compete in Mr. Olympia, or if they compete in Mr. Olympia, the Arnold, one other pro show a year, right? They're going to get some decent prize money. Don't get me wrong. They're going to get some decent prize money there, but not enough to sustain themselves for a career. It's just not. Ronnie Coleman, he was a cop the entire time he was competing. He was a police officer the entire time he was competing. That was his career, right? I think careers can come from it, but I don't think competing itself is fruitful enough financially. It doesn't seem. It's not. It's not at all. It is a hobby. It is 100% a hobby. And it's an expensive hobby at that, right? And people think that once you get to the pro league, it becomes cheaper. No, it becomes more expensive when you get to the pro league. Because then you have to travel everywhere. You have to take time off work. Because we all have careers outside of competing. So you have to take time off work. You have to travel. And instead of going for one day, you have to go for 3 or more. And you have to do more than one show a year in order to try to qualify for whatever you're trying to qualify for. So, it does not get cheaper as you become a pro either. It becomes more expensive. You may get some sponsors that will help cover some of your costs. Maybe a suit, maybe some heels, maybe some jewelry, maybe some tanning, things like that. But that's just covering costs. That's not paying you. It's very rare. There are some people that make some decent money off of sponsorships and things like that, commissions and things like that, but it is not enough to put food on the table. It's not. It's not. Almost every single person that is a top competitor in this sport either has their own company or they coach or something like that, where their competitive stuff helps to build their business, right? That's what my goal with competing is too. I mean, my competitive journey helps to build my business, right? So then there's people who just love competing and just do it because they love to do it, and it's just their hobby. Like you talk about golfers, golfers love to golf. Golf does absolutely nothing for them when it comes to their careers. They just love to golf, right? That's their thing. That's their hobby. Everybody's got something. Everybody's got something that's their hobby, right? And I think that bodybuilding is a great hobby to have. It helps to keep you healthy, helps to keep you motivated, helps keep you driven and disciplined, helps to keep you improving yourself over the course of time. So I really think that bodybuilding is a great hobby to have in that regard. That's how I always look at it too. I'm like, yeah, it's an expensive sport. Don't get me wrong. It's an expensive hobby. But at the end of the day, it's bettering me too. Making me into a better person. Like I said, a healthier person. I'm 40 years old and I look better than some 20-year-olds. I'm not even gonna lie. That's why I do it. I mean, and with the health aspect of it too, like I go to the doctors once a year to do my physical and my checkup, my regular yearly checkup, and that's it. I never get sick, knock on wood. I'm still one of those people that hasn't gotten the C word yet. I still haven't gotten it. So I believe that's because I'm a very healthy person, and I believe that bodybuilding helps that. I believe that really helps me just overall in my life. I don't feel like I'm 40, I feel like I'm 25, right? Just being honest, So while it's a hobby, it is a very good hobby, I think. I think it's a very productive hobby. I think it's something that can absolutely 100% enhance your entire life. But I bring this up because this ties into something that I posted about yesterday. And that is, what are you willing to do to win? Right? We sometimes get into the mix of competing and forget that it's just a hobby. And we forget that it's not our careers, it's not our life, it's a hobby. I've seen so many people lose so much money, lose relationships, lose their children. I've seen so many people that just get so addicted to this sport, which this can happen in any sport, any hobby as well. They get so addicted to it that they lose sight of what's important in their life as well. So, like I mentioned in my post yesterday, I'm going to expand on that. Before you ever decide to compete, sit down and make a list of what you're willing to do to win and what you're not willing to do. And stick to it. When you get into the thick of things, when you're in the middle of prep and you're just feeling like shit, which is kind of where I'm heading right now. I'm not where I'm like, my mind is all over the freaking place. It happens to all of us. I have to check myself before I freaking blow up for no reason, that kind of thing. So before you get into that spot, make sure that you have your lines drawn so that you remember that this is a hobby and it's not worth blowing up at your husband over. It's not worth blowing up at your kids over. It's not worth spending so much money that you can't pay your bills that month. It's not worth those things, right? It's not worth putting yourself into debt. Financial aspect of this sport is very important to be aware of. I did a whole YouTube video on that about what the expense of competing actually is. It's not worth putting yourself on financial redline to be a competitive hobby, not just bodybuilding, anything, right? Love that you're so honest. Well, it's the truth, man. Somebody's got to be. Somebody's got to be, right? I love this topic. Setting boundaries is so key. It absolutely is. Absolutely is. So set your boundaries and don't cross them. When you get to that line and you're in the middle of prep and things start becoming blurry and you're not sure where you are anymore, pull that list out and say, okay, I told myself before I got into this that I wasn't going to cross this line. I wasn't going to go past this. Now I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, oh, it's just one more thing. Oh, it's just one more thing. Oh, it's just one more thing. Before you know it, you have gone 12 feet past your line and you can't even see your line behind you anymore. Right? So you've got to be careful of those things. And I really, like I said, I stress this to you that those things that you are compromising, your values, whatever it is that you're compromising in order to win, is not worth it. It's not worth it. Okay? So make sure that when you start this, you remember that this is a hobby. And the number one thing about hobbies is that it's supposed to be fun. Right? It's supposed to be fun. When this becomes something where it's like a do or die thing, it's not worth it anymore. It's not your career. It's your hobby. Okay? I would even say like having a do or die mentality for your career is probably a little extreme. Right? Let alone for a hobby. You know what I mean? That part, right? Yeah, that part. If bodybuilding becomes one of those things that is taking away from your life versus enhancing your life, then you have gone too far. Then you've gone too far. Okay, rein it back in. I know sometimes we all get so focused on this goal, this big time goal that we want to hit. Sometimes we get so focused on that, like we have to do it, do or die, all this kind of stuff, and the rest of your life is in shambles behind you. Let's say you actually hit that goal. What are you going to do now? You got nothing to go back to. Amen, right? Yeah. You got nothing to go back to. So remember that it is a hobby, okay? And by all means, like I said, you want to be the best at what you do. Absolutely. Absolutely, you want to be the best at what you do. If you're doing this, you're going balls to the wall. Trust me, I get it. I'm going balls to the wall myself. I understand. I do. I get it. And you want to. You want to feel like you did your best. You want to feel like you put everything out on the line. But remember those lines that you drew before you ever even started. Stop when you get to that line. Don't cross it. Don't go over the cliff. Because the fact of the matter is, the fun part about reaching goals is what you do to get there. It's what you do to get there. Because what happens is once you hit that goal, then you're like, okay, well, now I need to have a new goal to hit. Which is great. But again, it's what you did to get there. So hopefully what you did to get there didn't leave your life in shambles behind you. Right? A good example, everything in life is like this. A good example is, I just bought my first house, right? Just bought my first house this year. And I worked really, really hard to be able to do that. I saved money, did a lot of financial work in order to do that. Did a lot of seeing houses and all this kind of stuff. Like, the whole 9 yards. Anybody who's bought a house, you understand, right? For me, that was a huge, huge milestone in my life. Huge, right? But once I did it, everybody's like, oh, don't you feel so accomplished? Don't you feel so great? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, I guess. I was like, now I got to get the house in like livable condition and like make it a home. And I got to do this and I got to do that. And now I got a mortgage to pay. And now I got to do this. Now I got to do that. So while it was a great accomplishment, guess what? There's more work to be done once that accomplishment is made. So now I'm on this path of, okay, now I got to make this house a home. So that was a huge, fantastic moment that felt great for a couple of days. And then it's all the reality sunk in of, oh shit, now I got more work to do. And that's what happens in life anytime you hit a goal. Let's say that you're in the competitive journey here and you're going and you win your pro card, which is your big goal. It's like, oh, that's awesome. This feels amazing. I can't believe that I did it. I won my pro card. Shit, now I got to be a top pro. Well, we're starting a new journey, right? We're starting a new set of goals. We got to do work again, right? So make sure that the goals that you set and how you get there align with your values and don't leave you bankrupt when you get to the end. Whether it's physically, emotionally, spiritually, actually bankrupt, which has happened to people in this sport, all of those things. Okay. It is not a career, it is a hobby. It can 100% help with a career, even indirectly. Like I said, it can help with your discipline, it can help with your motivation, it can help with your perseverance, it can help with your competitive spirit, it can help with all of those things. So even indirectly, it can absolutely help with your career. But competing itself is a hobby. And don't ever forget that so that you don't lose sight. Don't lose sight of your goals and your steps to get to your goals. Right? And I say that because we are getting into the thick of prep for most people. This is the highlight of the competition season from now all the way up until we get to like October. This year's going to be a little different. Usually the peak season is till August, and then we have Olympia in September, but this year Olympia is in December. So that means that there is a lot of like a couple extra months of qualifications, which means there's a couple extra months of high peak times for competing, and we are in the heat of that. It's starting right now. Right now, as we go into May, this is when it starts. Okay, so as you start getting into this, I know a lot of you guys are. A lot of you guys are doing shows in the next couple months. I'm working. A lot of you doing it. Keep your head on straight. Keep your head on straight as we move forward through this season. Okay? If you haven't done it already, sit down, write down your goals, write down how far you're willing to go and how far you're not. On all aspects. Time away from work, money, family, kids, food, supplements, whatever it is. Write down where you're willing to go and where you're not. And don't let anybody tell you that you can cross your line. You still have to get up in the morning and look at yourself in the mirror and be happy with what you see. And I'm not talking about just physically, I'm talking about here. You got to be happy with this. Okay? If you give up this and this for a competitive goal, guess what? You lost. You lost. Don't give it up. Okay? Hold on tight. Those principles will keep you grounded. Right? Amen. Absolutely. Amen. Right? I totally needed to hear this. Thank you. You're welcome. Glad I could help. Okay? So again, this is your action point for tonight. Your action point is if you have not sat down and written out your I will do this, I won't do that, do it now. Do it now. Know where you're willing to go, where you're not. Okay? You're making us think deep tonight. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Always. Well, to be honest with you, I see girls every year that go past their lines. I see it happen every year. And it's unfortunate. What profits a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul, right? Same concept here. Definitely need to hear this from a financial perspective. That's the one line I have trouble setting. Yeah, a lot of people do. A lot of people do. And it's no joke. It's no joke. If your financial aspect of this is not in check, it will stress the rest of your life out. Trust me. It'll stress out your relationships. It'll stress you out, period. And that's going to make you a worse competitor when you're stressed over finances. Right? Amen. Yes. Amen. Yeah, the financial one is the one that a lot of people fall to. A lot. They think, oh, just another $100. Just another $100. You said it a few times. All of a sudden you're up in the thousands. Right? So be real clear on what your budget is. Okay. That one more show may not be worth the extra $500 or whatever it is. Right? Anything else you guys want to add? I'll leave it open for a minute. I always leave this open for a little bit if you guys want to add in comments so we can discuss more. Yeah, make sure you have very clear, concise lines. You are willing to do and you are not willing to do. Okay. Okay, so that'll give you guys something to do tonight. That'll give you something to think about. And be really honest with yourself, right? Be really honest with what you're willing to do and what you're not. Okay? Like I said, write it down. Write it down. It's really important. Okay? You can sit there and say, oh, I won't do this. Oh, I won't do that. But you'd be surprised how quickly those lines get blurred when you don't have them set fully. Set those lines fully. Okay. All right. If you want to come work with me, SusanPosting.com is where you have to go. If you have not done so already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Because this weekend we have another show, which means I will be shooting footage at the show, on stage, backstage, all over the place, getting you some behind the scenes look. Especially if you guys are brand new competitors or thinking about competing. This is a local show. It's not pros, it's NPC. So you get to be able to see a little bit of a typical entry-level NPC show, what you should be expected to walk into, that kind of thing, when you go to a show for the first time. So if there's anything in particular that you want to see, go over on my YouTube channel if you're not there already and take a look at the Bikini Girl in Bodybuilding World playlist. There's one video on there, and that's from the class championship weekend. So take a look at that, watch that, comment. Let me know if there's anything you want me specifically to be getting at these shows as far as footage is concerned. Because we'll get that all edited and put together for you guys too. Yes, can't wait to cheer for ladies too. Yes, it's gonna be a fun day. It's gonna be a fun day. So I start bright and early in the morning, and then the ladies are on in the afternoon. But I will be there from the moment that the venue actually opens up. So I'll be there all day. Almost showtime. Yep. Love that first Bikini Girl video. Yes, I got a lot of really good comments and traction on that. Really like that kind of stuff. So I think we found a good little niche right there. So I'm gonna keep expanding on it. So keep telling me what you like. And cutie cheerleader, right? Yes, we have so many cheerleaders in the cutie community that are amazing. Like as far as crowd influence, you guys are great. I can hear you over everyone. It's fantastic. I love when I'm like watching a live stream or something and I'm not there, but one of my girls is there and I can hear her in the audience. It cracks me up. So I was watching Wasatch and I could hear Brina Martinez. I could hear her in the audience trying to rev the audience up at Wasatch. I was like, go Brina. I love that kind of stuff. It's fantastic. You can always hear Jasmine anywhere we are. Every show she's on the videos that I have on my YouTube, like when I'm at shows with her too. You always hear her. So they're fantastic. They're great. So we won't be on live tomorrow because I'll be getting ready for the girls on Saturday. And then we have some very special stuff coming up next week. Rena and Jazzy, right? I know. If you have both of them at your show, you are going to be laughing and smiling the whole time you're on stage. between the two of them and their energy, man. Whenever we have Brina come to Cuties Conquer the Stage, we put her on first thing in the morning, and there's a reason why. It's because of her energy. So I actually did that with both of them this year. Put Jasmine on first on one day and put Brina on first the other day, and there was a reason for that. But yeah, so we have some special stuff coming up this coming week. So it'll be a really cool video that we put together for you guys after this weekend. I'm gonna hopefully get that edited and everything towards the middle of next week. That's my goal, because then we just kind of start running with shows. It's Warrior Classic is next week, and then Pittsburgh is the week after that. I mean, it's just like boom, 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 boom as we start going. So I do my best to get these videos up as quickly as possible, or they're just gonna sit on my phone. They're not gonna go anywhere. So I'll do my best. With that, you guys, I'm gonna let y'all go tonight. I have some posing for cheeks to send out, and then I gotta wash all my makeup brushes and stuff for the weekend. So we're gonna do that. That's my exciting evening tonight. And then I will see you back on live. Maybe Tuesday, because like I said, we got some special stuff coming up next week. So it may not be till Tuesday. Don't quote me on that, but it may not be until Tuesday. Stuff coming. There's things coming. Anyway, hope you guys have a great evening. Thank you for joining me for this little bit of a heavy topic, but a necessary topic. If you're just joining us now, go back and watch what we talked about. Get your pen and paper out and make your list. And yes, I love special stuff too. Me too. Absolutely. All right, you guys, have a great night. I'm going to X out of Instagram first, and then YouTube. And then YouTube. Bye. Good night.